The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Laugh like the sun always shines, brimming with fun times, and there's always something to remember, always something to consider.
Hi, this is Katreese Barnes and Something to Consider, and tonight my guest is the talented, entrepreneurial creator of Recipes for Survival and many other things. I'm going to zoom her in right now.
You think you're doing that?
Yeah, I'm zooming you in. Donna Goldman. Hey.
Hi, Katreese. Who has the most beautiful voice? Mine might be distinctive. Yours is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Most beautiful voice.
Well,
so how are you? Long time, darling.
I know, it's been a while. I thought I'd bring you on the show because you have some new developments in your life. You left a job.
I do. Which is exactly once when we caught up again. Thank goodness on some level for Facebook, so I get to say hello and congrats here and there to you. But yes, when we finally did get to catch up, I have taken an absolute, I was laid off, but it was I've always been an executive assistant to people, certainly in the music business, which is how Katreese and I know each other. And then for the past couple of years, I've been in high-end real estate, but that came to a screeching halt in December. And I've been, I had a feeling that was going to come. It was no surprise, let's say that. But I've always been doing my cooking project, Recipes for Survival, and I'm finally declaring that this is what I'm going to do. To be a private, health supportive private chef and offer my services. And I'm not a licensed nutritionist, but it's an intuitive thing for me. But I do work with nutritionists and have always been concerned about, farming and organics and how food is, why we have Hawaiian punch and foods on the counters that are just not healthy for people. It's been something in my life since I'm very young. So I'm really trying to amp up Recipes for Survival. And I think because of putting it out there the way I did, Katreese and I found each other. It might have prompted this get together.
Yeah, Recipes for Survival. I mean, do you want to start there, or do you want to start with leaving your job and the fear of letting go of something so much a part of your life? Yeah, for so many years you had like a steady job, and now at this time in your life, letting that go.
Yeah. I'm old. Number one. I don't know how to look it, but I do, and I'm beginning to look it. But I think what might be a little more interesting is how Recipes for Survival started, because that came at a point in my life when a much more interesting point. I had been in the music industry as an assistant to a production manager for rock and roll tours that went around the world in the Cowboys and Indian days. And then it began to unravel. And I've always, as I said, since I'm a child, I grew up in a diabetic home. I've always been cooking for myself. I stopped eating meat when I was 10. I was cooking for my neighbors. I've always had a very, like, a grounding the one grounding element in myself.
Now, you said you grew up in a diabetic home.
Yes.
Who had the?
My dad had juvenile diabetes.
So all the food was kind of tailored for him?
What it was, I wouldn't say tailored. I always thought, I had no idea what diabetes was. The only thing I knew is we did not drink soda. I never drank soda. My father was very strong, very good looking. I didn't know I thought it was I didn't know anything about it, and then as he got older and was, suffering with implications of juvenile diabetes, and he got lymphoma, Hodgkin's, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Then I was like, oh my God, my father's going to die of cancer. And then his wife said, Donna, diabetes. And then diabetes is going to kill your father, even before that would. And that laid me down. And, but I've been cooking. I've always had my food awareness and mindfulness about food and healing is just like an intuitive thing for me.
Now, when you say intuitive thing, so when you're working with someone, they describe what their needs are, and then you intuitively tailor a menu for them. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I will get like hints of things, but then I'll go back and read. I start reading and researching. But now it's so there's so much information about diets, which is a word I run from. I mean, all I ever wanted to do was make documentaries, and that was a word people were running from. Now it's the biggest thing, but diet. Every single person is so particular, and it takes time. You have to learn. I mean, if you're going to do blood tests, and that's why often the best thing for me is if I can work with a nutritionist.
Yeah, I just discovered this blood test that's by this company called 23andMe, and you can find out different sensitivities, even to coffee. I'm not looking forward to that test result, because if I have to give up coffee, I'm going to be nice. Right. I'm not even addicted to it. I just love the taste, but if I have to give it
and
up,
the smell. Oh, yeah. Right? The smell. For me, I know. I love the whole thing. I love the form. Meanwhile, I'm drinking tea. I'm switching to tea because I get so jacked up from coffee. Okay. But this is interesting, Katreese, which we have not spoken. Maybe we did. This is interesting because that 23andMe.
Yeah.
I have written down, I absolutely have to look at, but I was researching the keto diet.
Oh, I'm on that. I've been on it for a year and a half.
Yeah, that's why I was listening to that piece, and I want to talk more about it because I'm just beginning to research it, except
especially for diabetes. I mean, my God.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
A no-brainer.
That's it. But then that's not going to work for everybody.
You know what it is? I think it'll work for a lot of people, but it has to be tailored for each person.
Exactly.
There's this lady named Elaine Canton, and her son had juvenile diabetes. She got him off of insulin, but the version of the diet that he had to follow as an adolescent was so strict. Mm-hmm. He went back to the insulin.
Right.
Because she was able to get him off, but he couldn't eat anything.
Right.
And for an adolescent, that was damn near impossible. Yeah.
Wow. Wait, there's so many things to talk about. But this is interesting because a friend of mine, who is a mathematician, a math analyst, he's designing, just found out he's pre-diabetic, completely freaked him out. Completely. So he came up, has the wherewithal and knowledge. He's going to develop what's called now augmented website, and people can get what we're calling personalized health plan, a pathway, not a diet, but a health plan. And he's the one who told me, please look at the 23andMe. Is that what it is? 23andMe?
Yep. And it's not that expensive for what you get.
Yeah. Listen, when it comes to your health, and I have no money. I am completely out of work. I've never felt more grounded and stable because I eat a certain way. I keep things very simple. Very simple.
Now, why were you looking into the ketone diet? What made you?
Because of this research for the site that what I'm going to do, I'm helping my friend write it. So I listen to him, who doesn't necessarily talk like in layman terms. And then I try and write in layman terms what the site will look like, what scenarios people would eat if you're healthy, if you're pre-diabetic, if you're diabetic with other inflammation, arthritis. People with arthritis must be on a certain plan.
Now, with recipes for survival, did that include what kind of?
Well, it's funny. When it started, this is funny because when it started, all I wanted to do was the antithesis of what was being done on the Food Network. No more than $4 for ingredients, maintaining basics, or I don't know what comes first. Maintaining basic staples in your house, no more than $4 for ingredients. And one pot, one pan, what people have in their homes. Not everybody has Cuisinarts. No one has a Fryer-Later. They were making these dishes that no person was going to eat. So I started making, literally, Katreese, I was making oatmeal, couscous, very split pea soup, crepes. It wasn't, at that time, it wasn't so much nutritionally focused. It was more basic staples, organic ingredients, if that answers that question.
Ease and also just healthy from the knowledge you had at the time, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. And are those kind of staples good for diabetics too?
Well, this is funny because I started writing a piece about I wanted to include beets. Now, a diabetic can't eat a beet. Mm-hmm. And on the keto diet, you cannot do any root vegetables.
If you you have to do small portions for sure.
Say again?
If you do root vegetables, small portions like turnips and parsnips, you can do those.
Yeah.
But small portions, yeah.
Small portions. But for me, when I do basic, just recipes for survival, fortunately, every day I knock wood. For me, root vegetables are important. I always have a squash around. I love more than anything.
People eat squash on a ketogenic diet.
Yeah.
The thing is, what people recommend is that you test your blood sugar 2 hours after you eat to see if that particular food makes your blood sugar rise more so than other foods, and it's different for everybody.
Of course,
like, I have a sensitivity to tomato sauce, and other people don't.
Right, exactly. And then I'm going to send you at some point this a TED talk of this study that was done, I think in Israel. The doctor or the person that presented is an Israeli. It's incredible, Katreese. I can't think of the name of it right now, but the study, it was done through the Weizmann Institute, and they studied 50,000 meals, 1,000 people, all this time, and they gave two people. Make a long story short, one person could not eat rice but could eat ice cream. One person could eat edamames but couldn't eat carrots. It's like And the whole thing is, I think if you're compromised with your, whether it's sugar intake or inflammation, being able to do a test and follow and get on a path for yourself is so beneficial. But not a lot of people really care.
Yeah, I saw
I think
somebody from a Shark Tank episode created another food allergy blood test. I don't know how accurate it is, but I think they're coming down the pipeline now in bigger numbers.
Oh,
and you're right. Not everybody's interested. Everybody, you can tell by the obesity in America.
I was just going to say, go walk by a McDonald's and watch how those people put that food in their mouth.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I don't want to be generalized or whatever that word is. It's so not in my vocabulary.
But eventually most people do have to face the music. I mean, if they're eating badly and they're not in good health, people do have to face the music at some point.
Well, they will. Because they're just going to get sick. And hope somebody around them will eventually pull in the reins and say, you can't eat white bread and hamburgers and orange cheese
every day.
You can't. But then when you see them, they eat it with without any mindful. Like, I can sit here and eat a piece of candy, but if my mind is in a place that I'm aware I'm eating a piece of candy or I'm eating something that's not top notch for me, that's not an apple, you do it. For me, a lot of it has to do with being mindful.
Yeah.
I think that has a lot to do with how you digest.
Oh, yeah.
And also the idea of standing, if you're like, there's one of those food cooking shows, the guys, they're all standing, eating.
Yeah.
You don't eat standing. You sit down and eat. You have to, and just take your time. It's a ritual to be able to eat. I don't care if I scramble an egg or steam an asparagus or put peanut butter on toast. It's going to taste different than you. You have to just do things with focus, and it makes a difference. And you don't have to have all that much,
Oh, I'm learning that. I do a lot of, in addition to ketogenics, I do intermittent fasting.
Oh, right.
I'll just not eat for 14 hours.
Oh, that's nice. I bet that works.
Yeah, it just, gives your body a break.
Exactly. It's funny because what I find now about this, what did I call it in writing? Like just this unconscious way that people do things, like grasping for food when they supermarket shop.
I know it's funny that you say that, because since I've been cooking more, because ketogenics kind of forced me to cook more, because there's so much sugar in everything. If you order takeout, it made me more mindful about eating, and it made me more mindful about making things taste good, and not just.
But it doesn't take much. It's an inch, a squinch of salt, but it also has to do with your attention, I think. But what I was going off on for a second was what I find, because if I make something as simple as whatever I was making recently, I'll always look at recipes to reference, just for reference sake. And everything is so overkill. Like, a quart of milk. You need a quart of milk and 5 eggs. Well, you don't. You know what I'm saying? Granted, I'm cooking for one person. I'm not cooking for four. I'm not
Right.
serving, which makes
Especially in cities, we need more single-based recipes. I mean, single.
right.
I mean, people who are living alone.
But that's easy. If you take 2 seconds, I mean, I'm not good reading recipes because I'm not good at following things, but why I read them is to look at how off they are. They're all completely off. And that's exactly what Recipes for Survival is. That's what the audio book is. Make it on your own. Go look at the recipe. Listen to this. One of my absolute favorite dishes right now, total Recipe for Survival, is well, I want to talk about this beet and ginger soup, which is like this flu remedy.
What was interesting is when you were talking about that earlier is I mentioned that there's this push for everyone getting a flu shot, and you said you got yours.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you got it?
I'll tell you exactly why I got it. Because my health insurance was running out 3 days later.
Oh. But I'm saying you felt the need.
I was like, what the hell? I already spent the money putting it into my paying for health insurance. All right, give me the shot. I did it December 28th. My health insurance was running out on the 30th. Believe me, if I didn't have it, God forbid, I didn't have health insurance, like 7 people I know, I'd be eating ginger. I would have ginger, which I always do. I would have ginger tea, lemon. I mean, there are certain things you can eat that will build your immune system. Beets, oranges, vitamin C. There are things
Some people are actually afraid of the shots. So there's one doctor in particular I listen to.
Well, Anne Marie Colbin from Natural Gourmet, her whole thing started because she refused to have her kids get the booster shots.
Yeah.
Vaccines for children. Mm-hmm. That's how her whole thing started. Oh, it's a big issue. A lot of people, God forbid, think it has to do with maybe even autism.
So were you concerned about the amount of the different strains that?
I know something, Katreese. It is so. I don't have a medical background, but yes, it makes me very nervous that each year we hear that these strains, and I don't understand it. All I can do is try and eat whole foods that aren't wrapped in plastic. I do anything in my power to not buy anything in plastic. If I have to buy peanut butter, I keep it in the jar. I get peanut butter. I try my hardest. I try never to, I never use a straw. No. I'm sorry how I went off on that.
We were talking about
I'm sorry.
the flu strains, but living in a city like New York where you're on the subway with hundreds of people,
you have to wash your hands.
Yeah.
You have to wash your hands.
So do you think that I mean, I have insurance and I haven't gotten a flu shot.
You did not, right?
I did not.
Right, you don't want to.
I don't want to.
But did you get the flu?
Nope.
Oh.
I fought a cold, but that was like a 3-day process.
You eat mindfully.
Oh, yeah, I do eat mindfully.
Healthy.
Yep.
That's a lot. I think that has a lot to do with it. You have to keep yourself healthy. That's your mind, body, soul. I mean, we're lucky. We're artists. We have a little bit of extra time on our side during the day that you don't have to show up and work for somebody else.
In a weird kind of way, though, I think people who have more structure actually could it could be easy for them too, because like I know people who will cook on Sunday and
Yeah.
have a lot of their food for 3 days or 4 days or for the week even.
Mm.
And I think sometimes the hustle of freelance makes your life so jagged and irregular. Sometimes I wonder if it's
I mean, there is no easy, you know,
Yeah.
there is no easy, but and also, I mean, this whole freelance thing, any normal person would be freaking out. So I just happen to I'm trying to go the exact opposite and be as calm as I can and trust.
Would you prefer being a private chef, or do you want to really launch your product line?
I need to be a private chef right now. I need to be working. The product line is, if I could ever get that to happen, it would be a fluke, you know, by talking to somebody, but I can't do it. I can't afford to be in a kitchen. I can't afford to be bottling it and making labels and trying to sell that. I can't even sell myself as a chef right now.
Well, I mean, on your website, you have the salts. I mean, I think there are different laws for things like salts and.
Yeah, it's almost contraband if I at some level it's considered contraband if I sell it to somebody. But so I just give it to my friend. Everybody, some of my friends will. One friend of mine bought some bottles for, but it's a huge help to me, and they love it.
Hold that thought. We're going to continue with episode 2 next week with Donna Goldman about her recipe for survival brand. And this has been Katreese Barnes and Something to Consider. Join me next Thursday at 9 p.m.
Through the night, made me feel so right, and there's all